Now, if people think that I should have trans people on and talk to them about it, I'm happy to do that.
Right.
But that's not what they're saying. Now, I don't know what the actual conversation has been from Spotify talking to these employees.
So how does a self-proclaimed moron have the president of the United States?
Well, he's clearly a moron too. It's the only thing that makes sense.
Tweeting about you, mentioning you. When does him and Biden get here?
No, it's not going to happen. See, what? Joe Biden's a smart one. He's like, well, that guy's a moron. I'm not going on his podcast. But Trump,
he's a smart.
They're sticking with this, eh? They're like, I'm sure they've heard the feedback by now. Everyone's like, it looks like some horrifying tanning salon from Mars, but this is the set. This is the silo.
Well, Trump is like, I mean, he's obviously deeply, again, way out of my lane, just talking nonsense. But he's obviously
the inside of a toaster. That one's good.
Huge businessman, hugely successful businessman, but not a politician in any way, other than becoming president.
Yeah,
which is fucking bananas.
Yeah,
you know. Part of it is good, man. Part of it's good just to expose the system and just to let everybody know, hey, look what can happen.
Yeah.
The deep state.
Look how it can go wrong.
He has a whole fake news has really got some traction now.
Yeah. Fake news is a real thing now.
Right. Yeah, I saw, when Trump and Biden get here, you're going to do the DMT question, right?
Oh, well, I'm going to get them high first. Both of them are going to get high. We're going to do mushrooms. I'm going to bring in a shaman.
There was that Babylon Bee that I showed you today. Yeah. They did have a
As much as I hate Joe Rogan, that sounds awesome.
Like Trump was on here for an epic 7-hour interview with Rogan and said had the best marijuana possibly he's ever had. It was like tremendous, or you know how Trump has these same. But yeah, it was so funny.
Amazing pot. Can you imagine getting that guy high?
He doesn't even drink.
No,
does he?
I don't think so.
Oh, this is it. Yeah, see?
That's the picture. That's a great picture.
It is. But what was the caption, Jamie? Can you find that? What did it say? Oh, my God. It's hilarious. Yeah.
Lively 7-hour interview with Joe Rogan. Imagine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Imagine how many votes he would win if he did that. Well, I bet a lot. I bet he'd lose a lot, too.
Yeah.
People are like, what is happening? You need some more of that? I'll have
I don't know.
Want some more coffee?
There might be a little bit.
We can get some more.
Okay.
Wow, this show really went downhill ever since the whole Spotify thing. This isn't interesting. I want his wild theories. I want animations and cartoons. I want conspiracy theories and DMT. Whatever happened with the Spotify thing? I want to see his official response.
And this is probably, overinflated. All that Spotify stuff. Is this just complete fodder?
They have literally said nothing to me about it.
Right.
Zero.
Right.
It's never come up. Now, is there someone at Spotify that's complaining about the Abigail Schreier episode? I'm sure.
Right.
I'm sure there's someone that's complaining about it. Is it a transphobic episode? It's not. They're wrong. They're not. It's nothing to do with that. It has to do with the fact that human beings are actually malleable. We all know that. That's why cults exist.
Right.
There's a thought process now that if you're talking at all about trans people, you have to be 100% supportive. You can never question whether or not children should be allowed to transition, babies, hormone blockers for prepubescent children. All this is mad.
What I don't get is for someone who's so passionate about these topics, so passionate in the sense you want to talk about them all the time, and you know you get in trouble for your comments on them, why don't you want to do any research? Like, why don't you actually want to learn? He's never had a prominent member of the trans community on his show to talk about any of this. He's just had IDW people filling his mind with the worst kinds of brain poison on a regular basis.
Here's the question. Are there some people who are horribly sad that they transitioned and regret it terribly?
0.05%. 0.05%. So again, what you're doing is vilifying an entire group of people to support and prop up 0.05%, while vilifying the vast majority of the rest.
The answer is yes.
Right.
Are there some people that are very happy they transitioned and they're much more happy in the gender of their choice, how they feel, than the gender of their birth? The answer is also yes.
Right.
Yes. 99.5%.
What Abigail's talking about in her book, Irreversible Damage, is large clusters of kids who are mostly kids that are socially awkward. Many of them are autistic. Many of them have never had any praise at all in their life, and they transition and they get all this praise from people.
Right.
See, he's done these all rapid fire, and he does them as if it's subtle. As if you don't even notice. He's just asking questions, right? This is a matter of woke culture, cancel culture, social justice warriors, right? Everyone's jumping on me, my free speech. That's what's important here. I just want to talk about these things. Why can't I have a conversation? If anyone says anything in the opposite direction, suddenly it's transphobic.
Right now, it's in vogue.
It's a social contagion amongst that subset of people, and they're at high risk they're easily influenced. And
that was the problem. The word contagion was one of the things they had an issue with. Because they called it deeply transphobic. It's not transphobic.
Because contagion is also used to talk about diseases. So that's not right.
But it's
language.
Social, but yeah, it is language. And this is the problem: is that they look at this and they say this is openly transphobic. It is not transphobic. It's not transphobic.
No, it's not. I think there's.
Again, you're talking to this with like a cis gay dude, as if like two cis guys are going to come across and have some new revelation together. Like it's the definition of an echo chamber. Like you're just sitting in a room being like, yeah, it's not transphobic to say the transphobic things I've just said, because I know you agree with me. Yes, I agree with you too. So problem solved.
I think that a lot of this, rigid, allegiance to, listen, we all know that trans people are in many cases are much happier when they transition and they have better, productive, fulfilling lives. Everybody, I don't think anybody does. Like, there are people that don't want that, but they're probably a minority.
But here's
probably
a
small minority of people.
Why don't you learn then? Why don't you look up the stats or the figures before you talk about this with authority on the biggest podcast in the universe? And now probably one of the biggest ones on Spotify too. Like, you keep saying there's gotta be. I'm sure. ... Question mark.
To say that all heterosexual people are happy, or all homosexual people are happy, or all trans people are happy is nonsense.
It's not true.
It's crazy.
Right.
So when you talk about a particular issue where the uptick of girls transitioning, it's called rapid onset gender dysphoria. And this is psychologists are talking about this like it's a real issue, because there's an uptick of several thousand% over the last decade. They're looking at this and they're trying to figure out what the fuck is going on.
Right.
Oh, well, allow me to enlighten you, Joe. What's happening is that it's becoming more acceptable to talk about these things. So yes, surprise, surprise, because they're not vilified by society anymore, there's more people coming forward. Yeah, it's not as if they just started to appear. It's not as if this suddenly magically came out of nowhere. It's not just like, oh, whoa, all these trans people are suddenly existing. Well, that's probably because I don't know what to say about that. Maybe it's because they suddenly think that there's something to follow along. They want to be cool. They just want to fit in. Kids these days, fashion it's a hell of a thing.
So when that does happen, if you can't discuss
Olive, yeah. On top of that, you're trans, but myself being like a cis person, I think it was like 8 years ago that I first learned that there was a difference between someone who wears drag and someone who's actually trans. And even then I was like, well, isn't that just men in costumes? Isn't that what it is? Because again, I had no idea. This is something that is just now being openly talked about and is now being put into the mainstream media. But before that, it's not as if they never existed throughout history. They've always existed. That's the thing. It's the same thing with the gay rights movement in the 90s. It's not as if gay people suddenly existed for the first time because they were getting exposure. They've always existed. It just depended on whether or not they were allowed to talk about it in society. It used to be you would go to jail. Like, sodomy was illegal. It still is illegal in many parts of the world. Maybe that's why. Maybe suddenly, when that's not illegal anymore, you'll see an uptick in the amount of people who are openly saying, oh yeah, I happen to be gay because I'm not worried about being arrested for saying that.
We've found ourselves in this terrible place where there's no longer nuance, there's no longer informed discussion, and you have decided that a subject...
This motherfucker has the biggest echo chamber. That's all he's doing. All he brings on is IDW people to talk to him about trans issues. And yet he's still like, there's no room for conversation. It's just, you try to talk about this stuff and you get silence. All the people I talk to agree with me, so I don't know what the fucking deal is.
Now, if people think that I should have trans people on and talk to them about it, I'm happy to do that.
Right.
But that's not what they're saying.
Do it.
Now, I don't know what the actual conversation has been from Spotify talking to these employees.
If that's what they want, I'll do it. But no one's asking for that. I've yet to hear a single person ask for that, so, I'm going to clip that and I'm going to post that to Joe Rogan. Jesus.
I am not in any way
Yeah,
anti-trans.
Joe, there's so many trans people just in my small little community in this chat right now who would love to speak to you, who would love a chance to talk to you, who would revel in the opportunity. They'll do it through any medium you want. They'll do it on Zoom calls, do it on the Skype. They'll fight in the shores of the Discord servers. It doesn't matter. They're there. They're ready.
I am 100% for people being able to do whatever they want as long as it doesn't harm other people.
Okay, that is the most like coded transphobia. When you hear libertarians like to talk about that, hey, come on, I'm for individual rights. Just, hands off me and hands off your children. Say, wait, what? I had you on the first one. Why the second one? The second one sounds kind of like you're trying to infringe on individual rights. It's like, no. You have a right to do whatever you want with your body. That's up to you. That's on you, all right? You choose. I just don't want you to do anything to your kids. So you want to police and govern how we treat dysphoria in children. That sounds like the exact opposite. I'm confused. Joe, I'm just confused.
If you choose to do anything, whatever you want, whatever your personal choice is, I'm happy if you're happy. I don't care. I'm
Of course.
100% open-minded. But if you say that I can't talk about something when a woman wrote a whole book and researched it deeply and is talking about not just these children themselves that have grown up and then gotten out of school and then realized they've made a horrible mistake and it's irreversible. That's the name of the book, Irreversible Damage.
Right.
If we can't discuss this.
Oh shit, that's the title? Oh, then it must be true. Then it must be true. Yeah.
Look, I had a friend who reached out to me and was saying thank you because my daughter has friends and 4 of them just decided they're trans together and they're all awkward. And I've been trying to tell her that this is probably statistically not even possible.
I care about the rights of the individual. I'm a libertarian, all right? I want everyone to have their own life. But y'all and your friends are definitely faking it. Based on the math, based on the big brain math that's going on up here. Y'all and your friends, yeah, you're faking it.
It's not transphobic to say that some people will regret transitioning. It's just a part of being a person.
Right.
If you're just going to end that sentence there, if that's just it, then you're basically crafting what we call a false narrative. Because again, if we want to look at the statistics, if you want to look at the facts, the figures, the logic, the science, the reason, the Ben Shapiro's, hypothetically, let's just say for the sake of argument, that it turns out that, again, it's 99.95%. 99.95% of people who transition do not regret it. You're speaking to the 0.05% who do. And in the process, you're vilifying all the rest. And by doing that, you're contributing to the toxic atmosphere that, again, directly correlates with their high rates of suicide. Now, here's a really easy thing. Would you rather kids are trying to kill themselves, or do you want to keep on defending the 0.05% of people who regret the transition? Again, 0.05% versus kids trying to kill themselves. Because that's the debate that's happening here. Let's just call a spade a spade. If you want to cut it real dry, that's what you're doing.
People are so malleable. They're so easily influenced. And for us to deny that doesn't do anybody any good.
No.
Anybody any service.
No.
So this is the main issue they had with that. This is apparently this is the main problem they had was this one particular episode. And I'm sure they've had issues with other episodes as well. But like I said before, I'm talking off the top of my head. And a lot of times I'm saying shit that I don't even mean because I'm saying it because this is a fucking podcast. And if you have a problem with people saying terrible shit and you work for Spotify, maybe you should listen to some of the lyrics.
Right.
Okay? Because some of the lyrics and some of the fucking music.
Oh shit. I think he's going to talk about some WAP. We got some WAP, y'all. Here we go. He's going to talk about the hip hop. I feel it. I feel it in my bones.
Music that you guys play over and over and over again makes my shit pale in comparison.
Right.
Pale.
Right.
If you're listening to some rap music right now,
Damn. Is there like a lot of really prominent transphobic hip hop that Spotify has been featuring on their front screen? Is that a thing? Is that like a new genre? Is that what the SoundCloud? I mean, I'm old. Is that what SoundCloud rappers are into these days? Is that it? What are their names? Like Spaghetti XL? Does Spaghetti XL is he really transphobic these days? I haven't been following Spaghetti XL, but I assume. I mean, I liked his song Noodles Noodles Oodles and Noodles. but I don't know what the rest of his career has been like.
I'm not anti-rap. I love rap music. I'm fucking say it all. Do whatever.
Yeah.
You ever go back and listen to NWA?
Right.
Go back and listen to like some of the early shit.
Right.
Go back and listen to Ice-T, Cop Killer, when the body count days.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, it's wild.
woo!
Yeah, a lot of rap is not female forward.
Woo!
Yeah.
Listen, I'm a fan.
It's true. It's true. There's a ton of hip hop that's incredibly homophobic, and I'm sure, all jokes aside, there's probably a lot of rap that's really transphobic as well. And at the end of the day, I think Joe Rogan has a right on his podcast to say shitty things. He does. He has a right to say shitty things. He doesn't have a right to hate speech. He doesn't. But if he wants to spend all day platforming every IDW ghoul and goblin in the world, he can do that. All right. He has the right to do that. A private corporation like Spotify has a right, when they pay $100 million to buy this, to pull an Ursula, to buy his voice, to do what they want. And hopefully, he signed a contract that gives him as much power or as little power as he wants. But that's the extent of it. That's the problem with private corporations having monopoly over everything you listen to. And that's the problem, again, with having giant corporations strangle smaller companies and also control every single thing that we hear, listen to. That's a much bigger problem. It's the same problem with social media. All bullshit. But you can't complain about it. You don't get both. You either take the paycheck, because he fucking got paid, son. He got $100 million. You take that money and you get all happy, and then you can hang out with your transphobic friends, drinking beers and talking about how much you love stopping kids from transitioning. You get to do all that. You also don't get to complain that the company you gave your rights to is censoring you, because that's what the money was for. You sold out.
Cable news infuriates me, but I'm watching it all the time, because even though I can feel my sanity becoming thin and brittle when I'm watching it, it's nice being able to pinpoint what makes it just so terrible. My channel is meant to be a look at the media in the spirit of manufacturing consent. I look at things like, how does CNN take a minor headline in the morning and spin it into their lead story by the evening? How does MSNBC discuss defund the police? What do NPR and Fox have in common? But also comparisons like, how was Assange covered on MSNBC versus Democracy Now? Or how was the last Belarusian election covered in Jacobin versus the New York Times? So if you don't want me to have watched all this cable news for nothing, my name's Spencer. Come check out my channel.
Hey, we want to mutual aid you to get some eyeballs on your work. So if you have a leftist YouTube channel or Twitch stream or something you want us to advertise, just send us a 20 to 30 second ad using the forums at weareserfs.com. We'll do our best to help you out. And please submit once per channel.
To our God, I'm Wrath. We pray at your altar of greatness. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, you are the light that guides our path. To our lords, Jimothy K. Meeblebeeps Jr., Ryan Lubin, Trevor R., Jeffrey Lamb, Poppy Nelson, Stephen, Hans Josephine, Nine Tails Cosmic Fox, we bow meekly for your pleasure. To our Knights of the Round Table, J. Fraser Cartwright, Thomas Brereton, Ali Menthal, Jimmy Bignuts, Good Poon Hates Cops, That's Solid Poon Then, Violent Orchard, Sophie Baby, Political Puppy, Andreas Chiringoito, Goofus Lankius, Zach Christensen, Nicholas Marks, Yoppie, Josh Mickelson, Dr. Zayas, Dylan Byth, Todd Buckingham, and Todd Lajeunesse. We salute you.